Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining me. We're going to be talking about 10 tips for summer kefir because it is very hot in my area. I kind of live in a desert climate, so it's 98 degrees right now. It has been for a couple of weeks. It kind of fluctuates, but it really changes fermenting. And I want to help you because as your house heats up or it's warmer in your kitchen, things change with kefir because kefir is a living food. And it honestly, guys, it has a mind of its own. It ferments different in the winter than it does in the summer. So understanding the process can really help you and really make a huge difference in the outcome of your kefir. So I'm sharing about 10 tips to help you make great summer kefir. And the special kefir microbes have taught me more about who I am than just about anything else I've ever encountered. I love drinking kefir every morning. First thing in the morning works best for me. I've done it for so many years. That's my breakfast every morning. And especially in the summertime because I love it because it's cold and it's not hot. And so I like cooler foods in the summertime. It's super easy to make. I love taking a grapefruit sometimes in the morning, just squeezing the juice into my kefir. Can't tell you how good that is. I also make some pretty intense kefir smoothies in the morning. And I think I'm going to write an article about it because my kefir smoothies are wonderful. And they're made with frozen fruit, but I put a lot of extra things in it that really has made a big difference for me. And I'll put things like red fennel powder in, which is just berries that are crushed up because they help feed that microbiome, especially bifidobacteria, help it to grow and multiply, but also help, help all kinds of things in the body because the polyphenols themselves have all kinds of compounds that help the body to stay young, healthy, the heart to work properly, the blood to flow. It helps everything. And I always add that to my kefir smoothie. I put some apple peel powder in there because that feeds Akkermansia, which is a very important microbe in your gut that keeps your gut lining secure and keeps it from getting leaky gut syndrome and other problems. And it's just so good for you. It's one of Akkermansia's, which is a very important bacteria. It's one of its favorite foods. And so I just stick some of that in there. I also put a little bit of collagen powder in there. And I like the vanilla flavored ones. I love them. It gives it a fantastic flavor. Okay, so let me just tell you what I do. So I take half a cup of kefir, half a cup of L-Reuteri yogurt, and I'm making a new yogurt that we're going to eventually market called Algaseri, which is phenomenal. It is a very important bacteria too, but we're going to get into that later because we haven't done it yet. But I've been using that and experimenting with that. I put frozen fruit in there, collagen powder, apple peel powder, red fennel powder, which is, I've got a new product that I'm selling I really like. It's called Simple Reds, and it's basically cranberries, strawberries, let's see, what else? Goji berries, apple peel powder, and there's one more in there. I can't remember what it is. But it's really good. So anyway, it's got all those in there. And the polyphenol powders really changed me, really helped me. And so I put that in there. Frozen fruit, blend it all up, and I have a very, very thick smoothie. And this morning I made one. I had kefir and L-Reuteri in it. And this L-Reuteri I made from almond milk. And it had this texture that it's just incredible. I think it's from the pectin and from the L-Reuteri has some special prebiotics in it. But it made it super thick and like mousse-like. And it was really good. And I have that recipe on my website. But I do all of this in the morning, every morning. I do it every morning. I do it for me, my daughter. I double the batch. Sometimes I do it for my son when he's home on the weekends. And it is just, I've done this so long that it just makes such a difference in my life. And I know it when I don't have it for a couple of days. So it's, I have a cup of coffee with it or some chai tea. Sometimes I'll have a slice of einkorn toast or sourdough toast, but I haven't really been doing that lately because I've been pretty busy. And this smoothie makes me so crazy full, I can't eat anything else. So, all right, I kind of got off track, but I like to tell you what I'm doing. So anyway, here are the tips that I have for summer kefir. So time and temperature is very, very important. Kefir ferments at 24 hours, anywhere from the temperatures of 69 to 75, 73 degrees. It likes it a little cooler, but if you raise those temperatures above 73, 74 degrees, you're going to have some temperature fluctuations. You're going to have a lot less time to ferment your kefir. It's going to ferment faster, and that's not bad. It doesn't mean it has to ferment for 24 hours. It just means it's going to ferment a lot faster. And if it's cooler than that, it's going to ferment slower. So I have a video, and I'm going to link that in the description below, and you can check out this article and watch the video, and it shows you what happens when the temperatures change and when you have more kefir grains than you need in your milk. So it ferments faster, and it helps you to see what's actually happening. If you have a lot of grains and it's really warm in your home, you can use fewer kefir grains. 1 tablespoon of grains is going to make anywhere from 2 to 5 cups of kefir, and even more in the summertime and even faster. And the warmer the kitchen, the faster it ferments. So if you have a lot of grains and you want to slow down fermentation, then remove some of those grains. And what I do with the grains, because the grains have a lot of good polysaccharides in them that are very, very good for you, stick them in your smoothie and blend them up. You won't taste them, but they do have properties that are very powerful, that are very, very good for you. And it will also, slow down your fermentation time to remove some of those grains. Now, if you don't want to remove your grains, you can also use more milk. It's the same tip as above in just a different way. Instead of reducing your kefir grains, you just increase the milk you're putting in there. And then I try to aim for 24 hours, but sometimes, it takes less than that if it's warm. So, I try to get the right ratio, and it's really going to depend on your kitchen and how your grains are fermenting, because every kitchen is unique. You have your own unique set of bacteria that's in your kitchen that you bring into it. And if you do a lot of fermenting, you're going to have even more, which is good because your things are going to ferment better. But your microbes are going to eat the milk sugars or lactose out of the milk. And if you're doing non-dairy, you give it a food supply so that it will ferment and have some sugars in there, because most nut milks don't have very much sugar in them. And then it converts that food source into probiotics. And the more lactose they have, the longer it takes to convert or ferment the lactose out of the milk. So if you give them more milk, it's going to take longer to ferment. Okay, now, you can ferment for less time. I try to aim for 24 hours, but if it doesn't do that, if it does it faster, then that's okay too. And I like to make kefir once a day, so my 24 hours is kind of a guideline, but it can take much less time in warmer temps. So if you have too many grains versus the milk, like we discussed before, and your house is extremely warm, above 75, your kefir is going to finish faster, no matter how many cups of milk you use. So you'll need to, it can be done in 18 hours, it can be done in 12 hours. But you'll notice that it's done because you'll start to see it form a thick curd. You'll see little pockets of whey starting to form, and then it's done. If you let it go too long, then it turns into whey and curds, and then everybody thinks their kefir's bad. It's not. It's just over-fermented. And over-fermented kefir is not better. You get less microbes because as the microbes run out of food, they don't make as much. And that does not apply to second fermentation. Second fermentation is when you add a piece of fruit to your kefir that's already done, and you let it sit on the counter for an hour. That increases the probiotics. And it does so by adding more food to the kefir so the microbes have more food. And I can link that too in this article so you can see how to second ferment your kefir. It makes your kefir less sour tasting, it tastes better, and it gives you more probiotics. Now, if your house is very hot, you might need to keep your kefir in a cooler. Like if it's above 78 degrees or even 76, 77, it's just really warm. And kefir does not like to be hot. It is super finicky. I know some people out there recommend using a heating pad. Never ever do this. Never use a heating element on kefir. It hates it and it hurts your grains. And I think people think that it's like yogurt, and it does not like heating elements at all. So don't use them. It's a waste of time and money, and kefir hates it, and it will diminish your grains. So if people are telling you to do that, don't listen to them, because they don't. I've been doing this 21 years. Yeah. So I know what I'm talking about, and I've seen so many people hurt their grains by, adding in a heating element. You don't need to do that. So you can keep your kefir in a cooler and let it ferment for 24 hours. And you can put it in the cooler with an ice bag or two or ice pack and leave the lid open a little bit because you don't want it to freeze. And then let it ferment for 24 hours or longer. But check it often because it's just going to vary depending on how cold it is. Once you start to see it gets thick and sour tasting, then it's done. You can also leave it on the counter for a couple hours to get it started and then place it in the cooler. But if the ice melts faster, then you can change it out. Just use an ice pack because that really works really well. Another option is to keep it in a cooler room. My kitchen is one of the hottest places in the house because they cook in there. So you can move your kefir should have a lid on it. So you can move it into a dining room or spare room or any place that's cooler if you want. It's just make sure it's well ventilated. Always make sure you have a lid on your kefir. Some people do with a cloth and rubber band. Don't do that because you're going to get wild yeast in your kefir. And 9 times out of 10, I've seen a lot of people get this pink yeast on their kefir, and it's always from not using a lid. So if you use a lid, you don't have those problems because it's not harmful to get it on there, but it's kind of a wild yeast and it changes the taste of your kefir. And I always ferment with a lid and it works so much better. So it likes the temps again between 68 and 75, and it will ferment faster or slower depending on the temperature. So if you can find a cooler room, that's great. Another thing you can do is make bigger batches. One of the things we sell is Easy Kefir, which is made from flash frozen kefir grains. You don't get grains, you just get a powder mix, which you can reuse again and again and make gallons and gallons of kefir. And if you have Easy Kefir, which I love, it's so super easy. And I do make Easy Kefir a lot. It's just convenient. And so you can make really big batches with it. After you make your first jar, which is a quart, you can use that jar to reculture. And so you would take that jar that you made and use 1/4 of a cup to make another batch, or 1/2 a cup to make a 1/2 gallon, or a cup to make a whole gallon. And then you're only doing it like once a week or however fast you eat the kefir. You don't have to have kefir grains that you have to make every day and keep alive. This way you can just make it whenever you want. And it lasts for a long, long time in your fridge. It's really, really consistent too. It makes really good kefir. So it might be, I call it Easy Kefir, and it's really kefir for people who are really busy, don't have time to take care of kefir grains, and want to make it less often. So it's a great resource. Now, another thing you can do is give it a prebiotic if your kefir is fermenting really fast. This gives it extra food. It'll help slow down the fermentation time. And we have a prebiotic called Prebio Plus, but you can also use things like potato starch or inulin. And like 1/2 teaspoon of potato starch for a quart is plenty. Or 1/2 teaspoon of Prebio Plus works too. Now, watch it because it'll take longer to ferment because you've given it extra food. But it does actually increase your grains and make them grow like crazy. So that's the other drawback, is because they will grow twice as fast if you give them a prebiotic. So, but that is an option to slow it down and make it ferment not as quickly, but also you can use the extra grains in your smoothie if you get too many extra ones. Now I put this one in tier 2 because people get this sometimes, yeasty kefir. And if your kefir starts to taste yeasty or has a strong astringent taste, then the yeast to bacteria ratio have gotten out of balance. There are very good yeast in kefir because we need good yeast too, not just good bacteria. There's a yeast called Saccharomyces kefir and Turla kefir. Those are the good yeast in kefir. And when it starts to taste like a yeasty, strong taste, the yeast have become stronger and they produce a stronger odor. It might have gotten too hot, or you haven't fed it enough is one of the reasons that this can happen. And you want the good bacteria to be the main factor. So you need to give your grains more milk, and like a prebiotic would really help, like Prebio Plus or potato starch or inulin. And you get tons of good bacteria and not just good yeast, which are more powerful in health benefits. You'll get the good bacteria. So that's a really good thing. And it doesn't take very long. It'll probably take a couple feedings, and then it usually pulls out of that. Now, sometimes when people's kefir over ferments in the summertime, it gets a really sour taste. And second fermenting your kefir, like I talked about earlier, will really help with that. It makes the taste much less sour because what I do, I'll add a piece of fruit or the peel of a lemon or the peel of an orange. And you don't need very much because then that makes it over ferment even more if you add too much. So you only need like a 6-inch strip for a quart. And orange peel and lemon peel are my favorite. You can use either one. You can also plunk a strawberry in there. You can do any kind of fruit, but it gives the good bacteria something to eat. And then that bacteria turns it into probiotics and they just love it. And it essentially like feeding the bacteria again more food. And it makes the kefir much less sour. It has a wonderful flavor. It's really good for people who don't like the sour taste because it actually really takes that taste away. And here's another tip. If you give it a prebiotic like Prebio Plus or inulin or potato starch, those prebiotics are food for bacteria. They give them something to eat and it makes it creamy. And so I'll just put a half a teaspoon or a little scoop of prebio in there, shake it up, place it in the fridge, let it eat things, and don't put it on the counter. Let it do it in the fridge because it'll slow it down. In the morning, it will often be creamy again. So instead of making your regular kefir with a large amount of kefir, split it up. This is another tip. If you're making, a smoothie recipe, instead of using a cup of kefir, if your kefir is really sour, only use a half a cup and then use some regular milk or regular plant-based milk, coconut milk, or I've even put kefir cottage cheese. I have a recipe for that on my Body Pro site and blend it together, and it's a lot less sour that way. So instead of using a whole cup, if it's really sour, use a half a cup and then another half a cup of plant-based milk or regular milk. You can also add some more milk to your super sour kefir and let it ferment again on the counter for a few hours. This will help lessen the tang. You don't need to add your kefir grains. You can just do it without it. Another thing is to make a smoothie. The fruit just makes all the difference in the world. Bananas are really great in kefir smoothies, and they seem to cut the sourness a lot. And I always use frozen ones because I love them. And one more ingredient that really helps is vanilla or lemon extract. It tends to mellow out the flavor. I have a homemade rum vanilla to my smoothies that I love, and I put it in ice cream and desserts, and I usually use about a half a tablespoon. And it works really, really well to use that. You can also use something that I really like is vanilla collagen powder. You can add that to your smoothie. I do that almost every morning. And you can even use vanilla whey protein if you want that, or vanilla plant-based protein. It really adds a lot of nutrients to your smoothie. Collagen is so important. It's one of the things that has kept me feeling and looking younger. My skin especially, because it's just one of the most important nutrients for your skin, even for your joints, because it's what holds your skeleton together. And so I always add some kind of vanilla, either collagen or protein in to give my smoothie more flavor. And it does make it a lot tastier and less sour. And I absolutely love doing that. I've been doing it for a long time. So it's one of the things that I think has really changed things for me, because my nails and hair, they grow so much it drives me absolutely crazy. And they used to not do that. So anyway, that's an important thing you can do too. And I do it not just to decrease the sourness, it's just to make it taste good. And I don't even have to add sweetener, because with the fruit and the vanilla collagen powder, it makes my smoothie taste great. I don't have to add any kind of sweetener. So anyway, those are some of my tips that will help you to make kefir in the summertime, because kefir in the summertime is really important. Okay, let me explain something to you. When your body gets really hot in the summertime, it stresses out your liver. And so you need those good bacteria in your body to help. For instance, your kidneys filter, all the toxins, all the prescription drugs, all the regular things you're getting in your diet, and things that are harmful to you. Your kidneys are going to filter that out, and they can get stressed out, and your liver can get stressed out. And having a lot of good bacteria is what cleans that up, because they eat all those toxins out of the urea and things like that the kidneys are filtering to make the blood better. And it's so important for you to have the right bacteria in your gut to really keep your body functioning and have a rhythm to it. And without those essential bacteria, you're going to struggle, and especially in the summer when your body gets hot, because it has to work harder when you're hot to keep you cool. But if it's already filtering out toxins and things you're taking and, harmful chemicals, just things you're exposed to, an unhealthy diet, if you don't have the good bacteria in there, you're going to struggle, and you're going to see it and you're going to feel it. And in the summertime, having kefir every day is a win-win because it's a cool drink. It's a smoothie in the morning, is fantastic for your body, but it also cools you down and takes a couple minutes to make, and provides you with so many nutrients that you need every day, and loads you with 50 plus bacteria. And all of these foods together, I mean, I keep learning more and more and more. I'm doing new research on different things, and I am shocked at some of the things they do. And I'm having some particular life experiences that I need to share with you because I'm waiting till it comes out. But I'm just amazed at some of the things bacteria does to help us and to keep us healthy and running strong. And it's an amazing journey for me because I thought I knew a lot about it. It comes to think I was only the tip of the iceberg that I thought I knew. And I do a lot of research, but there's so many things that it does to keep us healthy in so many ways, from our blood sugar to our kidneys to our heart to the way we digest our food to our bowels to so many different aspects of the body. And we just aren't aware of it because we've got 100 trillion of them living inside of us. And we kind of ignore them because we don't understand it. We don't know what they do. But I do. And I have seen living proof, especially in the last couple of weeks, of just exactly what these special microbes do in our body. And I'm very grateful for the help they bring to us. And I'll be sharing more about that in the next couple of weeks to come. So thanks for listening, guys. Have a great summer, but do yourself a favor and make a kefir smoothie. Or get some kefir. Or try a food that really interests you that's fermented, because you need those probiotics in your diet. And your body needs them too. It just doesn't know how to tell you. So have a great week, guys, and we'll see you next time.